becoming belligerent again. And that doesn't mean you have to bring American armies in. You can do that from the air. That's what they did in the old Kurdish area before. So anyway, I don't want to be the big genius about it, but the British are involved in a lot of these places, and they blame us. That's what I object to. They make it all like, oh, it's America's fault. No, it's not America's fault. And Vietnam, oh, it's America's fault. No, it's not America's fault. We're just picking up the pieces in a stupid way. Maybe it's our fault for being dumb. Okay, but we even blame ourselves. All the people in America think, oh, it's our fault. No, it isn't. We're stupid, but we didn't create these problems. Yeah.
Would you consider telling us about the philosophy of kibbutz and how it relates?
Well, it's so complicated because they're all different kibbutz movements. And it started with the socialism in Russia, you see. So they mixed socialism in Russia with Zionism. And this Bilu, come Israel, let us go, and Hibat Zion movement that you were hearing about. Probably the best selection in this book on that score is the Gordon, A.D. Gordon materials that I haven't read with you. But that would give you the philosophy of the kibbutz movements, and that Lacour book, History of Zionism, has whole sections on the labor Zionist movement. But the kibbutz is, to a certain extent, becoming old-fashioned in Israel. Only
it's
about
considered a failure, isn't it?
No, it's not a failure. They're very well established. They're like little towns. But only about 15% of the population, I think, is living on kibbutzim now. And it's become a more modern, capitalist country like most countries in the world. The agriculture is... That's the thing about Sharon. You ask about Sharon, but he used his position to get himself a private estate, a private sort of plantation or farm or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that was never done in Israel by anybody like that. He has a huge, what he calls farm down in Gaza, down in the Negev, near Gaza. So yes, the kibbutz is a socialist movement, which was useful in clearing swamps and supporting each other while they were building up the land. And I think they did a wonderful job. And you go to, but I don't think it's failed. It's just there's no place for it now. A lot of them are going into modern industry. They have furniture factories on kibbutzim. They have
tourism hotels.
Huh?
Tourism hotels.
Hotels, Silicon Valley type enterprises. So they're all getting modern, and I just think that people just don't want to live like that. People don't want to live in a state of collectivization if they don't have to, and so they lose a lot of their young people. But I can't give you the whole philosophy of the kibbutz on one foot. I'm trying to do the history as well. But any other questions that we have here on this situation? Well, let me try to sum up, and then we'll do your evaluations. First, let me talk about the exam. Or rather, maybe I'll sum up first. So what I'm basically showing is what started out way back when as reading Mendelssohn and Emancipation from the Ghettos is quite a miraculous, incredible movement of history, you have to admit, and brings us all 2 centuries later into the present situation that we are witnessing. We go through, the movie was very good in that regard in showing, how whole populations were annihilated, the things people had to go through in continental Europe and so on before nobody was left anymore in most of these countries. That's why we concentrated so much on Israel and Zionist thinking in the second part of the course, because in the first part of the course, what people were trying to do basically was throw the yearning for nationhood out of the lexicon of the people and make accommodations with the situation of emancipation, that they could be good citizens in each country that they were in, which is noble, and no one is against being a good citizen of America, a country that accepts you and wants you and treats you with a certain amount of dignity and equality. But these countries in Europe weren't doing that. And as you see, even after the World War II, I'm not sure that they still aren't doing it in most cases. They claim they have laws and things that they have now sort of Bill of Rights, human rights that they ascribe to. Yes, a bit late in the day, I would say. Better late than never, perhaps. But Jews aren't really very welcome in most countries of Europe to this day. So what, everyone's supposed to come to America? Is that it? Why should America be burdened by this? So the Palestine became the issue, I think, and just the thing that the Reform and conservative Jews were wrestling over and deleting, obliterating from the practice of their religion became their cry. And so we have all of these different currents of Zionism, of the early Zionist thinkers, the Habat Zion movement type thinkers, the Pinsker sort of ideologues, the Hess type people. And then we come into the, if you like, the high point, if you want, with the Dreyfus affair, which illustrated the impossibility of being treated in an equal manner in continental European environments, particularly like a forward-looking country like France. Forget about Hungary in the movie that we saw. So that propelled the Herzl people, the Brandeis people forward in their ideological thinking. And then we get the cultural Zionists that we worked on, and then we get the Jabotinsky sort of reaction to this cultural Zionism. And it brings us up to the present day. I don't have the answer for modern Israel. I don't have any idea which way modern Israel should go, but I think so many opportunities have been missed to state definitely where you stand and to stand on that period. Of course, you are dependent on other countries for arms to some extent, I guess, modern airplane equipment and so on, so you have to make a political accommodation to some extent in order to keep up with the armaments race, etc. So it is a difficult situation for anyone in the power of politics. I don't pretend it isn't, but it seems to me that you can make mistake after mistake. I'll say one last mistake and then we'll finish up. To my mind, the Carter-Sinai Accords were a terrible mistake for Israel. And because they set the pattern for everything that came afterwards. You know, Sinai was totally undeveloped. The Egyptians were not interested in Sinai, only as a place to launch attacks against Israel from. They didn't do anything with it. It was just some tribes occasionally wandered across it. There was no development there. The Israelis built wonderful settlements there in the short time that they were there. Sharon was Begin's pawn. He bulldozed the settlement of Yamit, which is the same thing he did to Gaza. Bulldozed beautiful settlements they built. They did all the tourist industry down in Sharm el-Sheikh. The Israelis